been doing this in New England for 17 years, right? Long time. You will over time, if you do decide to participate, you'll meet the other UCLA staff member that's really deeply involved with this, is Dr. Jason Cervone. He's actually the project director. Jason and I work very closely together, and so you'll get to know both of us. We are here to talk about the ExcEL program, the ExcEL Leadership Academy, which is focused on supporting every teacher who is working as a teacher of English learners. I'll tell you more about that. I did want to stress right up front that certified teachers are not the only people who can participate here. We've had lots of discussions lately about ed techs in Maine, paraprofessionals, counselors, library media specialists, sort of other non-classroom educational support staff are more than welcome to participate and have participated in the past. So next slide, please, Rebecca.
Sure. Oh, did I go 2 slides? I think I went 2 slides. There you go.
Okay. So today we have about an hour together. So I'm going to run through some slides and introduce you to ExcEL. ExcEL itself is, we call it a purposeful professional learning community for educators that are working with ELs. I'm going to talk a little bit about the program, what it means to participate, what the opportunities are, and then stop talking and just open up the floor to questions. I think given the number of folks we have today, if you'll put your questions in the chat, we'll go through them and we'll make sure that we get to them all. Okay. Next slide. So the ExcEL program as a program has been around for I think it started in 2007 the first time, and it's the program itself is funded by grant funds through the U.S. Department of Education. And this iteration, ExcEL 2026, we call it, is a 5-year grant that's focused on Northern New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And of course, today we're particularly talking about Maine, and there's some good reasons for that. I'll talk to you. But this is the second year of this grant program, and we are recruiting for cohort 2. So you may hear me refer to cohort 2, and we have I want to say 85 or 90 educators from Northern New England that are already participating as cohort 1 across all 3 Northern New England states. So next slide. We do really recognize and focus on the classroom teacher, the non-specialist teacher, a content area teacher, ed techs, like I mentioned, people who want to continue in their role and build their skill in working with multilingual learners or English learners in their classroom, because we recognize that most teachers these days have at least 1 or 2 MLLs in their classroom. And if they don't today, tomorrow or next week or next year, there is a likelihood that will happen. There is a pathway through this program that's also open to everyone to become an ESOL certified specialist teacher for people that are interested in doing that. But I just want to stress at the outset that you don't have to do that. The skill building is really designed for the generalist teacher as well as specialists. Next slide.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just a reminder, if everyone could put their computer on mute.
The way ExcEL works, we often refer to it as the ExcEL peer network. You might hear people talking about, um, but we do use this idea of teams embedded in teams, professional learning teams all the time. Many of our teams are site-based or school-based, and we do have a few virtual teams for individuals, across different sites. We started that during the pandemic, of course, when schools were closed, but it's been quite popular for, especially in Maine and northern New England. Some teachers are really isolated, and you may not have a team to draw on, so for whatever reason, we do have virtual teams. We designate a team leader or a site facilitator for each team. That is often a member of your team or someone from the school itself, or the virtual network itself. And we support that person. We have a network of site facilitators, and we help them help you. We work as a network. We brainstorm together, we problem solve together. We plan workshops and learning experiences, and just in general, use our site facilitators as really our interface with the field to help improve the program. So, and we do have current teams today across New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and the 3 northern New England states. Next slide. So all of the learning in this is self-directed, is self-paced, and it's scaffolded by micro-credentials. There are actually 12 micro-credentials in the entire program. I'll show you a visual of all 12 in a second. But the first 6, we refer to them as the essentials. Together, they make a micro endorsement. These are, I don't know, like the terms are defined differently in each state. So I like to be careful with them. But we think these first 6 are the skills that every educator needs to work with English learners. The set of second 6 is really for people, can be for people who are interested in it. There's a newcomers micro-credential that people are very interested in. But these are the basic skills, and they cover professionalism in terms of how you're working in this, the environment and the culture. Second language acquisition, instructional strategies, equitable assessment, how to support student voice for multilingual learners, and supporting positive school culture and family engagement for multilingual learners and their families. These are all aligned with the TESOL national standards, as well as the standards in the states where we're working. We've just actually finished a crosswalk, done the first iteration of it to match with the standards in Maine. So working on that. Next slide. Okay, and here's just the graphic of all 12 micro-credentials. You can see on the bottom, we call them the advanced support for working with MLLs, linguistics, programs and curriculum, working with newcomers. Like I said, that's a it's obviously a high interest focus right now. Sociocultural context of working with MLLs, dual language and bilingual programs, and special education NLs. This together, the full 12 is also under review in a number of states right now to qualify teachers to become ESOL, TESOL, bilingual, dual language certified. And, again, the language and process is different in every state, but that's a high priority because it's important to teachers, and we're focused on that this year. So, okay, next slide. So we are recruiting folks right now from Maine for cohort 2. And what does it mean to be a participant? Some of the sort of the aspects of participants. We do ask people to make a 2-year commitment to the program. We do not, require a payback or anything. We understand stuff happens, life happens, professional commitments happen, but we ask people going into this to think about a 2-year commitment to the program, and and if nothing else changes, to honor that. Participants do receive a $250 stipend for each micro-credential that they complete. That is a way of acknowledging the time you spend working on micro-credentials. At one time, we did it as an hourly, but we've changed it, and we think this is a much better, more effective, and works out better for participants. We do also offer graduate credit through UCLA for people if they want it. It's not required. You do have to write a short additional paper for it, but there's no charge for it, and it's there for people that need it. It's been pretty popular with teachers also. We are also supporting each team with up to $3,000. We're flexible on this, but we want to encourage people, as you're working through these, all of this work is implemented in your classroom. So you're doing things, and so we make up to $3,000 available to cover the costs of materials and supplies for things you might do. Teachers use them for a wide variety of things. Classroom libraries is probably the most popular. People have bought curricular materials. Teachers have gone to conferences using it. They've bought their own books for book studies. We've had teachers take students on field trips and defray some of the costs. So we're pretty open to it as long as it's connected to what you're doing. Next slide. We like to think that we give you lots of support. Like the whole program, the participant and team support is always evolving. This program is designed to be flexible and created in partnership to meet the needs of the teachers that it serves. So we always encourage people, if there's something that's not working, let us know. But we do invite, recruit, nominate, however it comes about, a site facilitator for each team. That site facilitator does receive an additional stipend of $2,500 for the year. Again, that's a recognition of the time it takes to schedule meetings and do paperwork, and as well as actually support people and mentor them a bit in getting the work done. So site facilitation in the beginning can be very time intensive. Not as, like anything else, once it gets off the ground, not quite as bad, but it is a significant commitment of time. We have a peer network of site facilitators where we do meet together once a month, and we problem solve and focus on our own professional learning and figure out ways to provide better support. We've just had our first meeting for the year, and next month we're going to do a deep dive into one of the micro credentials and look at at the results of what people have done, and figure out ways we can maybe improve the language of it, maybe, help people make the process a little easier next time around.
Mhm.
We also offer during the year for everyone that's in the program, design studios, which are like workshops, but we really base them in the work of one or more of the schools that are engaged in the project. I believe we're doing one in the fall that's going to focus on student voice. That's being led by a group of teachers from Nashua, New Hampshire. And we're hoping to do one in February that's focused on newcomers. And I don't have we haven't quite finished working it out, but one of the sites in Maine, I believe, is going to be leading that, or co-leading it. We present at conferences and other events, and really importantly, we encourage teachers and teams to present at conferences and other events, because the work you're doing is important, and we want to help you promote it and share it and let other educators learn from it as well. So that often involves travel to a conference, or at one time it involved travel to a conference, and hopefully in the future it will again. There's most of the major conferences we send, at least a team of teachers to, so they can bring things back for folks. Next slide. Okay, so this is the last thing I want to tell you, and then we'll just open things up for questions. We are starting this year a random control design study, and it will be centered in Maine. And I think the reasons for that are sort of obvious, but after working on this program for so many years, we really want to, in a formal way, see if we can establish what we believe are real impacts in both changing teacher behavior and improving student outcomes. So random, you guys know this, but a random control study is really challenging to do in education with schools, but we think we have the conditions for it this year. So we would like to invite, it may not be appropriate for all of you, but if you have more than one school in your district that's interested in participating, we'd like you to consider it, and and let us know, and we'll talk to you more about it. What would happen is, if your district had 4 schools, 2 would be enrolled this year, and the other 2 would then be enrolled in the beginning of 2024. So it would be a 2-year wait for the non-selected schools to participate, but it does guarantee a spot. Obviously, we have limited resources for this, but the schools and the districts that enter into the random control study, we will guarantee the non-selected schools a spot in 2024. So, it's a nice way to roll things out it's always starting with everyone at once is always problematic, right? So sometimes it's a nice way to roll things out slowly. So we'd really like to invite everyone to think about that. And if you think it could work, we'll talk to you more about it. So, okay, that's kind of it. I'm gonna open things up to questions, and what else can I tell you? You can either drop them in the chat or maybe raise your hand if I think I can see everyone that's here.
I wondered if you could
speak a little bit about what you meant when you said micro endorsement for the first 6 micro credentials.
Yeah, this is sort of an artifact of, we partner with Bloomboard. They're the platform that hosts the micro credentials for us. The work itself is done online, or the submissions. Teachers create a portfolio and submit it. So there's each micro credential is a separate, most similar to a course, I would say, and they are bundled into 2 micro endorsements. We approached that honestly because Rhode Island offers what they call an MLL endorsement. The State Department of Ed offers that, and it's the equivalent of the first 6 courses. So we bundled our first 6 micro credentials into the Essentials micro endorsement, and then the second 6 into the Advanced micro endorsement. Does that make sense, Megan?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Is there I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say there is a question in the chat now. I think, oh goodness, I'm trying to pull it up. Is there an application process and when can we begin?
Yes, there's, it's not a very formal process, but I do have a very short Google form, and I think I can pull it up for you and put the link in the chat.
Thank you.
It's really just an opportunity. It's not gonna, like put, it's really designed more for individuals. But if you're, a district or a school that's applying, feel free to answer the questions in a way that makes sense for you. So don't get too hung up on them. So.
Thank you. There's another question that's popped up. Are there any outside materials that need to be purchased?
There is nothing that you need to purchase. Each micro-credential has a resources section, and we've included in the resources section, readings or links to things that we suggest are good background resources for you to read. Sometimes people want to go out and get additional resources. That's fine. You could always use the team stipend, for lack of a better word, to buy that. There are a couple of courses in the advanced set that actually require the purchase of books, but we have them and we give them to you. So yeah, you don't have to buy anything. It shouldn't cost you anything.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question about the state of Maine and how their endorsements work. If you already have, like you were talking about in another state, that the first set of bundles took care of the 6 courses, or I'm sorry, there's an elevator going here. My question is, like, I already have those courses, and my endorsement through the state of Maine, does that cover that first set of bundle that you were talking about? Or am I just really confused about it?
Okay, so I don't want to speak for the state of Maine, and if anyone else has better information on this, do let me know. You don't have to. Let me start by saying you don't have to use this towards certification or endorsement at all. Like that's it's there for teachers that want it. We are working. April Perkins and I have been working towards, I want to say, getting this approved as an alternative, a site review path to certification for people that need it. The first 6, the essentials, what Rhode Island calls an endorsement. It's so challenging because the language is so different in every state. We've heard a lot from teachers who are interested in having something like that in their own states, and we are having that conversation. We have an advisory board that the states belong to, and we're having that conversation. We have had, I'm not sure we've had anyone in Maine yet, but we've had a teacher in Vermont who needed, I think she needed 2 courses to complete her certification. And the Department of Ed took the micro credentials as a, and reviewed them and gave her credit for them. So it's kind of all over the place right now, but maybe that's the way it should be. I don't know. It's, but we're getting there. It should work for what you need. So, but you don't have to pursue certification with it.
Thank you. Rainey, there's a couple more questions that have come up in the chat. One related to the topic you were just speaking to from Megan. It says, so teachers who complete all 12 micro credentials are eligible for a Maine K-12 ESOL endorsement? That's a question. And do they need to have any minimum qualifications?
Yeah, I think what I want to say is that process, the state is doing a crosswalk right now. I believe the intention is that this could be an alternative pathway to certification, but that it's very much in flux now. It's a high priority for both the state of Maine and the teachers that we're working with. So I'm pretty confident we'll get there. I certainly can't give you a clear-cut answer now, and I'm not sure there is a clear-cut answer yet, but I feel like we're close.
Thank you. Another question, can the program be completed sooner than 2 years, or are the courses set so that it takes 2 years to get through the material? And is there any requirement to be videotaping or demonstrating capacities with children at school?
Okay. First part of that question first. We have a group of teachers in Nashua who, it's every time I think of it, they've completed 10 micro credentials in less than a year. They're just about coming up on a year. They worked all summer. It's amazing. We generally think it truly is self-paced. Okay, so you can do these. You could probably finish each one in a month or so, but most people work a little slower. I want to say the average teacher does somewhere between 3 and 6 a year. Totally up to you. There is a requirement. Each one of the micro credentials requires you to do something. Most of them, you have to do something in your classroom. There are a couple that are more programmatic curriculum review kind of things. So the question often comes up for teachers that may not have any L's in their classrooms right now. We do encourage people to, partner with someone, and another teacher is usually happy to have you, do a lesson or demonstrate something in the classroom. But there is a demonstration requirement. There are a few instances you are assembling a portfolio of your work that's submitted to Bloomboard for assessment. Some of those portfolios require video and or samples of student work. There's a whole series of, I don't know if the question is about FERPA requirements and videotaping children, but there's a whole sort of set of helpful guidelines on how to do that. A lot of the classroom videos are just videos of the teacher, the teacher's face. You're not seeing any of the students, or sometimes even just a wall. And you may hear voices and things like that, but sort of helpful tips on how to do that. There's we pay very close attention to the FERPA requirements. So nothing should, matter of fact, they'll send it back to you if student faces or names are evident in the work. So.
Thank you. There's one final question right now in the chat. And Cheryl is asking, does each site require a site facilitator in order for individuals to participate?
Yeah, we've been a little flexible on this. We think having a site facilitator is very, very helpful. So, you know, when there's a team at a school, it's sort of easy and obvious that, you know, you can get someone to organize it. We do have, we lovingly refer to them as the Lone Rangers. We have a group of them in Maine and a group in Vermont as well, who are individuals at sometimes at very remote schools. And we have formed them into virtual teams and created a site facilitator for them. In some cases, it is a member of the team who's also serving as site facilitator. In some cases, we've tagged someone else to help them. But we think it's a really vital role. And while people could certainly do this as individuals, it's a lot easier. The journey's a lot easier in a team with someone who's just paying attention to the logistics for you. We do also have, this is a new thing we're doing this year, we have 2 very experienced site facilitators that we have designated as mentors for the entire state of Maine. So it's Diana and Laura. They're sort of an extra, really hands-on level of support for the site facilitators. So.
Thank you. A new question has popped up. Do you have an approximate number of hours per micro-credential that it takes to complete each one?
Yeah, again, kind of individual. The arc of each micro-credential is you start with an analysis of your current skills that may be, little more than a self-reflection. There's 1 or 2 where you invite a peer in to observe your teaching, but you do something to get a handle on where you are. Then you design a project or a strategy, something that you are going to do to focus on building a skill. And then you do it, you implement your project in your classroom, or in some cases in your school. And then you do an evaluation. So they all have those same 4 steps. It's a little, the process, once you get through the first one, pretty self-evident. They all follow that same arc. Again, most people, there's a writing evidence gathering component for each because you're assembling a portfolio. And we find most people spend about 15 to 20 hours on each micro-credential, to cover all of that stuff. Yeah, so I think that answers the question above it. Also, a lot of the team meetings we're finding are sort of evolving into work sessions where teachers do the actual writing together at team meetings. They might be once a month or once every other week or something, because the writing piece seems to be the biggest barrier to people submitting. But but we're open to whatever works, and different things work for different people. So.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Here's one. If we are already a certified multilingual teacher without a regular classroom and push into a K-12 curriculum, is this the right program for me?
I would say if you're interested in building your skills, absolutely. A certified MLL teacher who may or may not be working on micro-credentials makes a great site facilitator. as well. You can do that without working on the micro credentials yourself, or working on one or two, or whatever you want. You don't have to. And that helps build it helps build a team of teachers that are focused on MLLs. And of course, a certified teacher can provide guidance and professional knowledge that the other teachers may not have. So yeah, you'd be welcome to, like I say, many of our site facilitators are ESOL teachers, not all of them, but it's great to have, it's nice to have someone with that background in that role.
Is there an example syllabus for one of the micro credentials?
Yes, there, I could actually, let me see if I can share this for you. We are just in the process of I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of where we put it. We're
Mhm.
putting together what's developing into a user guide. And the first one that we've done has it has a full example. It has the full syllabus. It has exemplars. Let's see if I can give you a link to it. Oh, that's not it. Let's see. I'm sorry, we are literally working on these right now.
Mhm.
Let's see. Exemplars. Okay. All right, I am gonna, let me drop a link to this. There you go. And I
Great.
think everyone should open that. And there's some, we put together some checklists, some templates, some things based on, we did a review of people who submitted portfolios. And almost everyone gets their portfolio back with the portfolios are assessed by Bloomboard. And the criteria are very clear. They're not graded. It's either demonstrated or not. And it's very, very common for them to come back with a request for more. It's almost always that people forgot to answer something. And you can resubmit as often as you want. So there's some of that is in this user guide, just based on what people are getting their portfolios back. And it's always like if there's 4 bullet points, people only address 3. They're very simple things. So
Thank you. Next question from Suzanne. Who are the professors and how often is the curriculum updated? Are they UCLA professors?
okay, so the micro credentials are self-guided. They're not really courses, but like courses. So there's no professor per se for that. The resources are on there, the activities, and then they're actually assessed by trained assessors at Bloomboard. So so there's that. If you apply for the UCLA graduate credit, Jason Cervone, my colleague, he's actually the professor of record. He's the one that that receives your paper and scores it. Again, it's demonstrated or not demonstrated. It's largely a reflection on, there's usually an essential question, how has this change impacted your practice or something like that. And he's the one that awards the credit. And again, he'll work with you in the few cases where there's something missing, he's just going to return it and ask you, to address what's missing. So there's no pass or fail or anything. It's you work on it until it's demonstrated. And how often is the curriculum updated? We are just starting. Actually, we just finished the last of the 12 courses in June. So we are just starting now with curriculum review. We'll probably do the first 6 over the course of this year. They're only 2 years old. So, but we're updating links and resources and looking at how people, how people use them and how they did with them. So we're starting that process right now.
Thanks. From Tina, can you talk a little bit more about the platform used?
Yeah, the platform is, I could actually show it. No, I can't show it to you. It's an online platform, and it's a, I want to say, I mean, I've been using it for a while. There's a little bit of a learning curve in getting used to it, but it's basically, it leads you through those 4 areas. You take them one at a time. You develop your portfolio, gives you very specific instructions on what to include and how to upload. You upload your evidence onto this platform. There's a lot of rules about formats and stuff, and FERPA, they check for all these things. But it's once you get through the first micro-credential, it's not a difficult platform to use. People do have there's a learning curve with it at first. I want to say, like, it throws some people in the beginning, but there's all sorts of supports available through Bloomboard also. They even have coaches who can help you online with the, if you get stuck someplace, or like, I know, like, you can't use live Google links on it. There are things, just common things that people do, and they'll just give it back to you and ask you to fix it. But it's not hard to use, just takes some getting used to.
Thank you. Corinne asks, to receive the graduate credit, do you need to complete the 6 advanced micro-credentials?
No, you can, as you complete each micro-credential, you can apply for the graduate credit. We'll actually reach out whenever someone earns a micro-credential. We remind people, like, congratulations, if you want the graduate credit, here's what to do. And if you don't want it, ignore it. You don't have to do it. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, from Erica, how many graduate credits can you receive?
You could receive up to 12, 1 per micro-credential.
Mhm. And when do we have to sign up by?
We really don't have a deadline here. My guess is that people we might be talking to today probably won't get organized and ready to start until November, December, maybe even January, and that's fine. People could start today. You could sign up and start today if you wanted. We'll be enrolling teams and people really all year long. If you let me just leave it at that. Like, when you're ready, sometimes I don't like to encourage people to, take your time, because you lose some of the momentum, and the first part of the year is so busy and crazy. But we can work with anybody's schedule. So.
And Corinne and Cheryl are just agreeing that this is a really great initiative.
Well, thank you. We're obviously, we think so also. But yeah, I mean, it's I always feel like people are suspicious, like there's a hidden cost or a catch or something. You know, the US Department of Ed funds this. This is a program that's solely designed to support teachers and improving their professional skills. And we've been tweaking it every single year to make it easier, to make it better. That's sometimes I feel a little loosey-goosey with things. It's like, yeah, you know, take as much time as you want. You know, it's only to say that we really look for the balance between, we want to provide structure because teachers ask for structure, they want it, but it really, you know, you can make it work for you and whatever your needs are, so.
Thank you. It looks like we've come to the end of the questions popping up in the chat. Rainey, if there's anything else you wanted to add, or if you wanted to give any final pieces of information.
I think that's it. I'm going to put my email in the chat for you. And I'll tell you that I'm leaving on vacation for 10 days in the morning. So so if you email me, I may not get back to you for, you know, for a while, because I'm really going on vacation. But I will get back to you. Feel free to fill out the application if you want. If you want to reach out and talk more, we can do that. I'm not sure if there's anyone here from South Portland. We have a pretty big team in South Portland. I thought someone had signed up, but they'd be good folks to talk to, you know, if you want to get a sort of a teacher to teacher. Let's see, who else? I think Jessica Rosado in RSU 21 is also, they haven't quite started, they're just getting started, but she knows quite a bit about the program also. So they'd be great resources.
Super. Well, thank you so much. Sounds like a wonderful program. It's very exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And thank you all for coming today too. It was great to talk to everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Take care.